but I won't kill you. Not as such. Now I'll just make sure you live to regret it. So change your mind now or you're in the...
Raphael!
Sorry. We are ninjas. We are brothers. We're united and we're strong. We are...
The Legend of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Part 1, Chapter 36, Monsters. Written and performed by Joseph Chambers and based on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. Donatello returned to the lair and immediately set out for his laboratory. His dad had built this to keep his son quiet about science, and so he had a controlled environment to carry out his experiments in. Doing them elsewhere in the lair had become a problem on several occasions. Michelangelo had nearly drunk an orange liquid known as bromine water solution, despite the toxic symbol on the conical flask, believing it to be some kind of energy drink, and Donatello had set fire to his own bedroom with a Bunsen burner whilst experimenting on the effects heat had on biological catalysts. He found out they worked best at 310.5 Kelvin, but had also burnt the bedroom door and Michelangelo's bed to an ashy crisp. The laboratory was a small room with brick walls like the rest of the lair and an old wooden table along with a similarly worn stool. Several bottles and flasks littered the table along with books and practically every kind of scientific instrument you would expect in a standard chemistry classroom. Donatello reached his long and toned arms up to the double-door cupboard above the table and withdrew the canister of blue mutagenic fluid. Michelangelo burst through the door. "Hey bro, you won't believe what just happened!" he squealed excitedly. Donatello, in surprise at the loud clamour, dropped the canister. It plummeted to the floor and shattered. Shards of glass sprayed across the floor, whilst the metal top and bottom bounced off the floor with much commotion. A sparkling fountain of mutagen was temporarily created, but hurriedly dissipated into a large glowing spatter. Both Michelangelo and Donatello became drenched in the substance. Screaming of both horror and pain ensued from both boys, and was the result of the mutagenic fluid being agonisingly absorbed by their skin into their helpless bodies. Both Raphael and Splinter rushed into the room to see what the banshee-like noise was about, and were rooted to the spot with shock at the sight of both Donatello and Michelangelo beginning to swell up. Their faces became distorted, and their limbs were growing at least twice as long as they should be. "Help me!" gurgled what was once Donatello. "No!" screeched the Michelangelo monster. Their belts, elbow and knee pads ripped off their humongously overgrown bodies. Their minds were clouded over and replaced by something deep inside them. Something deep inside all of us. A natural urge in all fearful animals who fail to understand their environment. Just one word. Kill. "Oh, holy mother of hell!" yelled Raphael. He was unaware of it, but he was grasping his sensei's hand like a vice. "Get back, my son! I think they may be hostile," Splinter commanded as the Michelangelo monster met his eyes and seemed to become rage-fueled. A hulking arm swiped out at the puny mutants, and they anxiously jumped backwards to avoid the fatal blow. All the while, Leonardo had continued on to the warehouse and had found himself met with even more security than last time. A further electric and spiked fence surrounded the area, and about 10 guards guarded the premises' front entrance. In addition to this, 4 hastily built wooden guard posts had been constructed in each corner of the warehouse area. He removed his shell cell from his belt and pressed the D button. He pressed the device to the side of his head and said, "Donnie, have you got those serial numbers yet?" Leonardo heard a rough crunch and the connection ceased. Leonardo made the decision he needed to worry about April now, as he could not let her come to harm. He knew whatever the issue was, his family could probably cope with it. Even so, part of his mind did ponder various gruesome possibilities, and he felt the slightest tension in his stomach telling him to turn back and check that all was okay. Bringing himself back to the problem of getting into the warehouse unnoticed, he considered that maybe a distraction would work. Yes, if he could get all the guards to look the other way, then maybe he would be able to sneak in, and maybe he would be able to find out if anyone had entered the building in the last hour or so. Maybe. Leonardo crept up to a nearby tower and removed a box of matches from his belt. Master Shredder! A puny-looking ninja entered the throne room of the TCRI complex of New York, yelling with dread. What? The Shredder moaned. I was just getting into this. He seemed to be playing a game of Mastermind with a girl aged about 12. Sorry, Karai, we'll have to continue this later, but well done. A good attempt. Hi, Chi-Chi, the girl replied, disappointed. Go and tell your mother I will be late for breakfast. I get the feeling this will take all night, he called out to the girl. She bowed and left the room. The Shredder then swiveled the throne around with the push of a button on the arm of his chair to face the small and rather pale-looking ninja. Have the turtles arrived to collect their precious human friend? He asked, mocking sympathy for their act of compassion. Our infrared scanners have only detected one life form, the ninja muttered nervously. Any damage? The Shredder coldly demanded, taking on a far more serious approach to the interrogation. Well, the petite man trailed off. Are you scared that if you tell me something awful, that you will die a horrible and painful death? The Shredder asked sternly. No, the man stuttered. Pity. I must not be doing my job right. The Shredder grunted maliciously. The man began to shake very violently. Don't worry. I will not kill you tonight, the Shredder responded. The man relaxed slightly.